the Human Perspective this week at the National Council on Independent Living's conference in Washington, D.C. And I'll be doing a number of interviews with people from the United States and from people overseas. Today we're going to be speaking with Masako Okihira, who is a dear old friend who I met in 1981. She's from Japan. Welcome.
Thank you, Judy.
Very happy to have you here today. I'm wondering, could you give us a little bit of information about your background growing up in Japan?
Okay, I was born for a long time ago, and my hometown is very rural area. Still, my parents live there, and at that time there was no services and no policies for people with disabilities. So my parents didn't know what to do, and what they thought it was good to me was to send the institution. So I was, they sent me an institution when I was 4, and I stayed there until 18 years old.
So when you were in the institution, did you receive an education?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I received special education for children with disabilities.
So it wasn't the same as the education that non-disabled children were getting?
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Very low level.
Low level. So when you were living in the institution, what did you feel about yourself?
Actually, I don't remember that much.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I didn't know anything about regular society.
Yes, so because you were separated.
Yeah.
You didn't know what was going on in the
No,
broader
no,
society.
no, I didn't know that.
So what happened that you were able to leave the institution?
Before, 2 years before I graduated high school, I began to wonder what I should have, to do in my future. So, only thing, since I have a disability, cerebral palsy, usually my classmate went to take a job, like handcrafting or printing.
In a sheltered workshop?
Yeah, not only sheltered workshop, but also self-employed or something.
Mm-hmm.
But since, I have a disability in whole body, so I thought I couldn't do it. And
So it wasn't going to be your thing.
So the only thing occurred to me, just going to university, so I did it.
What did you study?
I studied Indian philosophy.
Indian philosophy.
And Buddhism.
And Buddhism. That's, I think, an important part of who you are.
But now I forgot them all.
And so when you graduated,
Yeah.
I first met you in 1982. There was a program called Buduskin?
No, Mr. Donut.
Mr. Donut. So tell us, why did you apply for this program?
When I was at the university, I had so much complex, and I was so ashamed of being disabled, so I couldn't talk to other students with their disabilities, and so I couldn't I couldn't join any circles. I was so shy. So, but since I have the time, I just, and one day I met a lady who spoke in English to foreigners and helped her for communication. So I thought, oh, that was it.
Were you
Then-
learning English while you were in college?
Yeah, only 2 years I went to YMCA
Ah.
to study English conversation.
Mm-hmm. So she told you about the Mr. Donuts program?
No. So, that is I mean, of my college days, and after graduation, I was hired with very little company. So my senior told me about the Mr. Donuts program. Since, I could speak little bit English.
So what was the Mr. Donuts program?
Mr. Donuts program, they gave a chance to people with disability to study disability issues in the U.S.
So the Mr. Donuts program, as I remember, lasted for 10 years, and it sent 10 disabled people a year to different parts of the United
Actually,
States.
it's still on. It's still continuing.
And it changed, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the original program that you came on.
Mm.
So that's when I met you
Yes, that's
at
it.
the Center for Independent Living in Berkeley.
Yeah.
And so you were beginning to identify as a disabled person.
Yeah.
Maybe you could tell us what some of your first thoughts were when you arrived in Berkeley.
You know what? I thought I could speak English, I could have spoken English, but it wasn't enough at all.
Right.
When I arrived at the San Francisco airport,
Uh-huh.
a driver came to pick us up. I was with 3 other students. But anyway, so just a driver was there to pick us up, and he said, "Hey, baby." That was so surprising to me. And no, there wasn't a house ready yet. So we had to stay at a motel on University Avenue,
Uh-huh.
and that area was not good around the time. So we were so scared, and people all spoke English so fast. So I felt, and how can I say? Gunshot came to me.
Gunshots.
Yeah.
I mean, the words come
Yeah,
out so
yeah.
quickly. So you lived in Berkeley on and off
Uh-huh.
between 1982 and
Yeah,
1986.
yeah.
So how would you kind of summarize your experience? What do you feel you learned there, and how have you taken some of that knowledge and continued to use it over the last couple decades?
Before I came to the United States again, I didn't like myself. And I guess, I was so negative about myself. But when I came to Berkeley and met you and other people, I thought they were so energetic and so shining. So that gave me a lot of empowerment. And I could learn to be myself, and also I have a potential in human rights, everything, and I felt being myself, that's the most important thing.
And over the last, since 1986, you've gotten much more involved internationally.
Yes.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you've done.
I guess I was very lucky because I could speak English, not perfect at all, but so that's why I got the chance to get a job on international corporation. So and the Daskin started to operate another program which invites young people with disability to Japan. So
For 10 months.
for 10 months to study. So I worked for that, and on that job I have to go to their places to interview them.
So as I understand it, there's an application process.
Yeah.
People apply from different countries. You select the people that you're interested
Yes,
in,
yes.
and then you go to those countries to interview people.
Yes.
So tell us about how many countries have you visited?
I haven't counted well, but maybe more than 30 countries,
Hmm.
mainly in Asia.
And
Asia.
mainly in Asia.
Yeah.
So maybe you could give us a little sense of life for disabled people in many Asian countries, what you experienced.
You know, it was very hard. They live under very hard situation. There is no enough wheelchairs, or of course accessibilities, and they didn't know what they could do.
So some of the people that you've selected who came
Mm.
to Japan for the 10-month program, they come from different countries. They speak different languages.
Mm.
How does it work?
We teach them Japanese for first 3 months. We force them to speak.
So they intensely study Japanese
yeah,
for
yeah.
3 months.
Yeah,
So the common language is Japanese.
Japanese.
Yeah, and I've experienced this, and it's really amazing. I've been to one of the reunions where there were many people. I think altogether over the years, 122 people
Yeah.
have come through the program, and they come together, and they're all speaking Japanese. Some of them speak English, and their language, obviously, from their country, but the common language is Japanese.
That's it.
And so, what has been the result of some of the people who've come and been trained? What have they done when they've gone back to their countries?
Some of them established CIL
Centers
in
for
their
Independent Living.
countries, such as Cambodia, Nepal, Pakistan, Mongolia, Taiwan, mm, Costa Rica. I mean, Costa Rica is not a part of that team, but we support them under the JICA program.
So, I think you're a role model for many people because your story is very powerful. And
Thank
then, you go and travel
Yeah.
to these very remote areas. And in many cases, you go back a number of times,
Yeah.
right? So maybe, because I know you've done a lot in Pakistan, so maybe you could just give us a little feeling of the changes that have gone on in Pakistan over the years that you've been traveling there.
Okay. When I went to Pakistan at first, it was 2001, and at that time there was nothing and not the leaders. But since Shafiq, the guy who ran the Milestone,
Milestone is the Center for Independent Living.
yes, after he went back, he worked very hard, and now so many disabled people come out from their house and work together. And here in the US, he brought 8 people from Pakistan. That is a big result, I think.
So, Masako, what would you like to tell our audience about what you hope to achieve in the next few years? What is your vision?
We formed or established WIN, Global
It's the word.
Independent Living Center
Network.
Network.
Mhm.
So I wish I could support them in some way and expand our the idea of our movement to other countries.
So do you think the independent living movement is something that can happen in any country around the world?
Yeah. I believe so very much, totally.
Yeah, so I think your contributions, past, present, and future, have really been to break many of the myths for people in Japan and in the countries
Yeah.
that you visited. So, thank you.
Oh, you are welcome. Thank you.
So again, our 10 minutes is up, and I'd like to thank you all for listening, and thank you very much for coming and joining us. And we'll be doing a number of other interviews, as I said, and we're also going to be doing our regular human perspectives in the month of August, which are going to be focusing on back to school education. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.